on, guys? Welcome back to Stef ABtv. Welcome to another video on the A45 AMG. Okay, so in this video what we're going to talk about, I'm going to talk about what's good, what's bad, and what's ugly about this car. Now, there's a few things. Obviously I made a few videos on the A45. This is my car. For those of you who are new here on the channel, I do loads of content. I do car reviews, I do vlogs, I do press trip related stuff, and I go and I'm fortunate enough to meet quite a lot of cool people actually. So if you're new here, consider subscribing. That Remus exhaust that Motec Performance have put on this car is glorious. Oh, it does sound fantastic. It does sound great. Right, so let's start with the good. What is good about the A45? Now, I'm particularly talking about this version, the facelift version, and I think really and truly the A45 AMG as an all-around car is just, it's fantastic. It genuinely is such a great car. If you want it for a daily driver, you want performance, you want, you know, boot space, you want luxury, literally, then this car is definitely up there with, you know, one of the best for the money you can buy as well. And it sounds great. Oh man, that sounds glorious. It literally is such a great all-round car. I think from a visual perspective, it has that Asbo look to it. I've always liked that about the car. It doesn't pretend to be something it's not. Now the A-Class itself, and I look at the evolution of the A-Class, if you remember the old original A-Class, it was a heap of crap. It looked so bad. But what they've done with this model and now the new versions that are coming out, they literally just look fantastic. The A-Class is definitely a looker. Now, obviously from an interior perspective, look at this cabin space. It is beautiful inside here. The seats are incredible. The steering wheel, the driving position, everything about this car is really well built, really well refined, and obviously because it's German, it just works, and it works very, very well. I think from a performance perspective, this car generally delivers. I mean, from a 2-litre 4-pot, this thing produces outstanding performance. 380 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 4.2 seconds with a 4-wheel drive 4MATIC system. It's so quick. It really is. But there's in fact there's a little tunnel here. It sounds fantastic. Let's not beat around the bush. So it goes, we know it goes, we know it looks great. I know that the aero kit, arguably some of you might be like, it looks a bit too boy racery, a bit too chavtastic. But for me, I think it looks great, and I think it adds to a bit of the character of the car. You know, it is the fact that it gives you pops and bangs on overrun just shows you this car is just out there to please, I would say, a younger audience, if that makes sense. I think that's a fair representation of what this car is based towards. It is so quick. It genuinely is so quick. Man, that is nuts. What about the bad? What's bad about this car? Well, there are a few things that I think are, I think they're a little bit bad on this car. I think the first one for me is the warming up process. I think the warming up process on this car is an absolute joke. The fact that you've got to wait nearly 8 miles for the gearbox to fully warm up, for most people, that's the entire journey done. And it's so frustrating because you don't want it, well, you shouldn't boot the car until the gearbox temperature is at optimum temperature, because then you run the risk of damaging it. So that's frustrating more than anything. The other thing that really is a bit frustrating, and it's a bit bad on it, I guess, is the launch control. Now, when you finally eventually get it to work, it's crazy quick. You know, that's where the 0 to 60 in 4.2 seconds comes from. You need to do the launch for it. Thank you. And once you get it going, it's great, but you know, you want that launch control to really maximize that 0 to 60 time. Now, here's where the problem is. first of all, obviously, like I said, you have to wait for the car to warm up, because if you come up to the lights and you've got somebody who wants to give you a bit of a hoon and you want to unleash launch control, well, if you want to unleash it in general, you just can't until the car's warmed up. Well, you can if you want to, but you shouldn't. And then the launch control is a similar story. So for launch control to work, you almost need to go through almost like a NASA style sequence. You've got to turn the handling mode into sport. You know, you've got to double pull the pedals, click it up, hold the brake, accelerate, off you go. It's a bit lengthy, but that's not it. You have to have the car at optimum temperatures. So if the car isn't at 70 degrees worth of heat in the gearbox, you're not having a launch. But then you also need to wait for the 4MATIC to warm up, which is the four-wheel drive system. And there's no way to tell whether it's warm or not. So you might have the car at 70 degrees heat ready for launch, but if the 4MATIC's not warm, it will just say race start unavailable, and it will just make you look like a tool. That happened to me when I filmed the video with Luke from Hampshire Photography. We did a Golf R versus A45, and the launch let me down. It just kept saying race start unavailable, which then obviously meant that whilst on paper my car is faster to 60 than the Golf R, when we did the test, the challenge, that I lost that because the 4MATIC wasn't warmed up, which is annoying. And whilst the exhaust and, you know, and all the Remus and stuff sounds amazing on this car, the other problem that I have with this car, I'm being very open here because I've told you guys this in the past, is that in order to really get the most out of this car and to really have the fun factor, you have to really drive it hard and close to the limit to really enjoy it and to really kind of test the limits of it. And that's not exactly what you want, because really and truly, yes, on autobahns, etc., on a track, you can really open this car up, but on the public road, you're going to struggle. And the last thing you want to be doing is really pushing the limits to get fun out of the car, which is what, unfortunately, it's almost too well built. That's the best of it. It's almost too well built that the sensation of speed just isn't there. And that's why in, you know, little cars, you know, like the Abarths and the little fun hot hatches, they're a lot of fun. The fun factor is just there because you feel that sensation of speed so much more than you do in this car. And then we get to the ugly, as in the parts that you really should probably know about if you're going to buy an A45 AMG. These are things you probably want to check to make sure that your car that you're buying doesn't have this, but also be prepared for the extra cost that's going to come with it. Now, when I talk about ugly, first thing I'm going to talk about is, of course, the gearbox, which is of no surprise to all of you because it's something that I keep talking about. The gearbox on these cars have unfortunately been known to have issues, and I can see why. I can see why they have. So they have what they call, it's a crunch. You get a oh, where am I going? I need to make sure. Oh, I need to come off here. Sorry, mate. See, that's the problem when you make YouTube videos, you forget where you're going. So the gearbox on this car has been known to have some issues. And it's mainly, you know, they talk about it being the facelift. They talk about the facelift having some problems. Some people say the turbos in the pre-facelifts had problems. To be fair, for me, the noise that you're worried about is when the car is cold and you put it into reverse, if you hear a crunch noise, then you know that there's an issue with, I can't remember what part it is, but it's a common fault on the A45 AMG. Now, if the car's still in warranty, happy days, take it to Mercedes, they'll resolve it for you. And I believe that if the car is out of warranty, Mercedes will still do a 75% contribution to a new gearbox. So that there is a problem, but I can see why these cars can have issues because, as I said earlier, they take so long to warm up. The gearbox takes so long to warm up. And if people get impatient, they just want to drive the car hard, you know, you want to just drop the gears, boot it, crack through the gears and have fun. But you have to be patient. If you're not patient, then there's a risk of damaging the gearbox. The other thing to note as well, the ugly stuff to be worried about, is that the way the engine's built, the way the engine cover on this car is, And I guess it's from where you put your foot down and you drive it, the vibrations of the engine against the AMG plastic cover. There's a vacuum hose in there that gets worn away. So you need to be mindful of that. A quick check is just lift the cover up, have a look, make sure that it's not all worn out, and those are things that you want to make sure that you've checked before buying your car. And the last thing as well, I think that everybody needs to be aware of is, of course, the costs. How much this car costs to run. Fuel costs about 65 quid a week on V-Power. You're not going to get that much mile per gallon out of it. Mercedes claim a much more optimistic figure, I would say, than what you actually get. And the other thing as well is service costs and insurance. Insurance isn't cheap on this car, for sure. Insurance costs on this, you know, you're looking to pay about £1,000 a service, but the service does cost quite a bit of money on this car. So, and it will, it's an AMG. So those are things that I think that everybody needs to be mindful of when you're buying this car. But, you know, hopefully that's given you a bit of a breakdown, the good, the bad and the ugly of this car. But I thought I'd make this video because hopefully it will help somebody who's potentially looking to buy one of these cars. It does sound very good though. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed that, guys. I hope you find it helpful. My name's Stef. You guys, of course, have been awesome. Make sure to subscribe for plenty more content to come. And I'll see you all very soon on the next one. Thanks for watching.